Their prophet said to them, indeed Allah has sent Talut or raised Talut as a king over you. The scholars of commentary mention that the prophet of the children of Israel asked Allah to raise up for them a king. And he brought a staff and a horn that had oil in it. And they said, this companion of yours that you've put forward as king, he is tall like this staff. And when he comes into your presence, another man, then pour onto him this oil. And this is the sign of his kingship, his dominion. Anoint his head with this oil, and his kingdom will be over the children of Israel. The children of Israel made analogy of this statement, thinking that the stick was them, and that there was no dominion over them. And this is where the dispute arose. Talut used to water his own livestock, including his donkey. And one day he lost it, and he went out seeking his donkey, looking for it when it had been lost. And others thought, how can this man rule when he cannot find his donkey? So there was a youth that came out with him, looking for it. They passed by the house of Shamuel, the Prophet alayhi salam, and they entered his house to ask him regarding his lost donkey. When he came in, they anointed him with the oil. Shamuel stood, and Talut, getting up, supported himself with the stick. When he did that, the people saw that he'd been anointed. He said to him, you are the king of the children of Israel. Talut said, you know best what is the condition of my state, and who is the nearest of the children of Israel, and my house is near to their houses, and you would make me their king? He said, surely. And he said, by which sign? By which sign? Shamuel said, the sign that you shall be king will be that when your father finds his donkey and it comes back to you just as it had gone, and the donkey returned just as it had gone. This narrative mentions also Jalut, Dawud, and Talut. These names are foreign names. They're not Arabic names. These are Hebrew names in their origin. And when the people said that he doesn't have wealth, it means that he has no wealth to give us to prove his dominion. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh said they only said that because he was one of the poor among the children of Israel. And there were two things that existed in the children of Israel at this time: prophethood and kingship. And so they tried to disqualify him from belonging to any of those two branches. In one of the tribes of the children of Israel, prophethood ran through the loins of the house of Levi. But kingship mostly ran through the veins of the house of Yehuda. Close quote. Now this is very important. The children of Israel at this time are consolidating themselves into the land that we're now calling Palestine and Israel, or what have you. Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Palestine, Israel. Those 5 countries are Sham. The children of Israel are coming into this land. The Amalekites are there. The Jebusiya are there. The Canaaniyin are there. The children of Israel are 12 tribes. Now it's mentioned that prophethood for the most part, ran through the loins of Levi or Lewi. Why? Because most of the prophets that would be coming to the children of Israel, most of them were prophets coming through the line of Lewi. The Prophet Musa alayhi salam and his brother Harun, they are the sons of Amran or Imran in Arabic, and Yukhabid, who's from what tribe? Lewi. The prophets after, the prophets of the desolation, Shemuel, all these others, running from what tribe? Lewi. Now, sometimes you'll find a prophet that combines with prophethood and kingship. He rules and he's a king. He's a prophet and he's a king. The Prophet Isa alayhi salam is called the Lion of Yehuda, the Lion of Judah. He's from the house of Judah. And it's mentioned that when he comes back, he'll come back as a just king, a just judge. He was called Al-Masir, the anointed, because of the anointing oil poured over his head by other prophets, and that he was the last and most notable and noble of the prophets of the house of Israel. After that time, the Prophet Isa alayhi salam made it very clear, there will be no more prophets from the children of Israel. This is it. So when you're looking at Talut, it shows his nobility where he says, have I been chosen as king and my house is so near to the houses of the people? And he had gone out for no other reason but searching for his donkey. Comes into the house of the Prophet Shemuel alayhi salam to ask, have you seen my donkey? And he gets anointed and he supports himself on the stick to get up. And the Prophet Shemuel alayhi salam says, look, here is your king. And the people are looking at him thinking, he's our king? He's lost his donkey. He doesn't know what's going on. He supports himself on the stick. He doesn't even know all these prophetic incidents are unrolling. But it just shows that it doesn't matter who it is. What matters is what it is. It didn't matter who Talut was. It mattered that Allah chose him to do a task. So now we're going to go further to find out about what happened. And this is where the interesting part comes up about the Ark of the Covenant, which I mentioned just a moment ago. Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi, rahimahullah, he says, quote, so when they said he doesn't even have a strap's worth of wealth, they meant by that he could not sustain himself to prove his dominion. But that prophet over them said, indeed Allah has chosen him over you, meaning that he's been chosen and made as the best of you as the prophet, as the king over you. So all of this was brought together. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh says, Talut was the most knowledgeable of the children of Israel in warfare and the art and sciences of combat. He was head and shoulders above the people in this area. And he was known for being tall and broad. Now, was this tallness and broadness before he received dominion, or did it happen to him after dominion? It's been said that he was already tall and broad before dominion, according to the ayah and the statement they made before that time. But secondly, it's been mentioned that it was after dominion because Allah strengthened him by ennobling his body to be able to complete what he wanted him to do. So whenever someone is being described as having a large or powerful body, it means they have a large amount of power and dominance. The Prophet then said to them, as Allah has mentioned, their Prophet said to them that the sign of his kingdom, meaning the sign of Allah having made him king, is that the Tabut will be brought. Meaning that he's coming with the Tabut. It's not coming by itself, he's coming with the Tabut. And this will be the affair that is brought. Now, it's been related from Ibn Mas'ud, Ibn Abbas, that they said to their Prophet, if you are telling the truth, then come to us with a sign that will show us that he is to have dominion. He said to them just that he's coming with the Ark of the Covenant. This is the sign they were seeking. They said, so let him bring to us the Ark of the Covenant. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh has said, the Ark of the Covenant is made out of acacia wood, which has front-facing pieces of gold and trellises of gold. And this used to be present with the prophets whenever they fought. And they would bring it out in front of their enemies, and seek help from Allah using it. And the Ark of the Covenant was a form of sakina. The dimensions of the Ark were 3 cubits by several cubits. So when the children of Israel broke up into tribes and disobeyed the prophets, Allah made their enemy to dominate upon them, and they conquered them. Now, as for the sakina, what is the sakina? The sakina is referring to a soft wind that would come out that had a face like a man in appearance. And this was stated by Abu al-Ahwas from Ali ibn Abi Talib. It also would come out in the form of a creature that had resplendent eyes and light swirling around it. So whenever the two groups fought, they would open the top and it would look to them and guide them and scare the enemy armies. And they said that Ibn Abbas and Al-Dhahak and Mujahid narrated that we have been told that the sakina, it had a head like the head of a lion's cub and wings stretching forward. And that this sakina is also what was felt when the hearts of the prophets were washed in the basins, when they were commissioned by Allah. This sakina is also a spirit from Allah that speaks. So when they differ in any matter, it speaks to them and informs them and clarifies to them what it is that they need. The sakina is also the signs that would occur coming from this item, this box, this ark. Now, sakina comes from the word sukun, and it means when something lives in you, when it comes to you. But the word sakina here means calmness, tranquility, rahmah, and mercy. The remainder of things that are given in the box from the household of Musa and the household of Harun were the Torah tablets, which had been broken at the point when Musa put them down, and Musa's staff as well. Because Musa had taken the tabut to gather the broken shards of the Torah that had been put down. The staff of Musa is also in it, and the staff of Harun as well, and their clothes. Some of the manna that had been rained down upon them was also placed inside. And within there they found knowledge. They found the Torah, the broken shards of the Torah, the stick of Musa, and also not to mention his amama as well. His sandals were also inside. And they moved forward with all of this as jihad in the cause of Allah. Close quote. So just before breaking for Salah, then we see as a proof then that's established for intelligent people that sometimes relics of prophets or relics of righteous people can be used for barakah. Because you have all these items and relics from these prophets, their amama, all these other things. There can be benefit taken from these relics. Barakah means ziyada, to increase in good. And so if someone benefits from these, as for example the hadith in Sahih al-Jami', in which it mentions some of the people going out on the cause of Allah, and before they went out they looked and they said, is anyone among you who knew Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And they said, yes, and they put them out in front and they moved ahead. Then on another occasion they said, is there any one of you who knew someone who knew Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And they mentioned yes, and they put them in front and they went out with them and they said, okay. Later on they said, is there any one of you who knew someone who knew the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And they went forward. And when they did that the third time, encapsulating the first 3 generations, Allah said they were granted victory every time. So this is why it's very important that we understand this hadith in Sahih al-Jami', that they were granted this victory. Because Allah had granted the victory, but there was also barakah in what they did because of relics. If something is a true and authentic relic of a prophet or a righteous scholar or righteous person of the past, there is blessing in that relic. There is blessing in that relic. So the people that have visited and seen the grave of Az-Zubayr ibn Al-Awwam radiallahu anhu, where his blood fell and they built a masjid on that place, there is barakah there. Ma'ruf al-Qarhi, one of the students of Imam Ahmed, Imam Ibrahim al-Harbi said that dua after visiting Ma'ruf al-Qarhi is mustajab, it's accepted. Because this person gives salam to Ma'ruf al-Qarhi and he says, please make dua for me. Just the same as you would from someone on the other side of the barzakh, because they're both alive. So relics, if they're authentically proven to be from that prophet or that people, that nation, that's correct. They're blessed. And if you can see them or handle them or touch them, there's good in that. There's benefit in it. Because relics, athar, or what they say in Arabic, baqiya, relics, they remind you of the times before. They are signs and proofs of things before. So you see Imam Ahmed rahimahullah, his Masjid Mahdiya, which still stands in Baghdad, for some reason wasn't leveled by the bombing from 1990 to 2003. It's still there. It's just signs, right? Sheikh Abdul Qadir Al-Jilani, his marqad, which is still golden trellised, hasn't been damaged, it stands to this day. All these type of things are there for a reason. Anas ibn Malik, his grave, it stands in its place. Imam al-Hajj al-Asqalani, his grave stands in its place, right? All these different people who were 900 so many years ago, now for the people in this country, they don't know where some of the famous people of the UK are buried. There was dispute about whether Shakespeare existed. They're not sure where he's buried because they have no relics, no signs, no leavings, no historical leftovers. And so this is showing you right here that relics, they were using them to seek help from Allah on the battlefield with these relics. Why? Because they're reminders of something else. So yes, things of barakah, they have rank. Like Imam Salih radiallahu anh, he used to wear the rida of his father. Imam Ahmed, whenever he gave a dars and said, inshallah, Allah will increase my knowledge so I'll be able to answer their questions. Or Imam Ahmed, when he gave a dars, he used to sometimes have his right hand in a fist. And they said, why do you have your right hand in a fist when you're narrating hadith? He says, because I have some hairs from the head of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my fist. Right? This is part of the understanding of baqiyya. I'm not sure what the word may be in other languages, but in Arabic, baqiyya is relics. Noble relics. Athar, relics. These are true, they're correct, and when they're authentically reported and narrated to be real relics, we accept them. We don't deny them, we accept that these are relics. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives barakah through these relics. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم أستغفر الله إن الله غفور رحيم الحمد الراحمين. Inshallah, we will stop for salah and pray, and then we will reopen, inshallah, and complete the rest of our ayat. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, he carries on with commentary of ayat 248, in which he says, quote, and the angels carried it. What this is referring to is the fact that the angels carried the Ark of the Covenant and brought it. Now, this Ark of the Covenant was with the angels, as they carried it between the sky and the earth since the time of the children of Israel coming out. And this Ark of the Covenant was in the earth. Now the question then comes to someone's mind, so where was the Ark of the Covenant prior to the angels carrying it and bringing it back? The answer is twofold. One is that it was in the hands of the Amalekites, and they had buried it, as said by Ibn Abbas. The Ark of the Covenant was taken by the people of Jalut, and they buried it in a place that they had, which was like an estuary.